I stand before you today, not from behind some gilded podium, not through the filtered voice of a scripted diplomat, but as Ibrahim Traore, speaking with every fiber of my being, with every ounce of conviction that pulses in my chest. My voice grows stronger with each word because what I say matters not just to me, but to the future of our people, to every son and daughter of Africa who dares to dream of dignity, of sovereignty, of justice. Let me tell you, the so-called International Court of Justice, an institution draped in the trappings of justice, yet wielded by powers who have no right, has dared to fine me $800 million. $800 million. A number so gigantic it dazes you, it numbs you. But it isn't real. It is an illusion, a weapon wielded by those who fear our rise. And so here I stand, refusing to bow, refusing to appear, refusing to pretend that their pretend court holds any claim, any authority over the will of our people. I will not appear before the ICJ. Let that be heard loud and clear. Not whispered, not negotiated, not delayed. I will not stand before them, not now, not ever. I will not legitimize their farce of justice with my presence. To step into that courtroom would be to kneel before a system built not for truth, not for peace, not for equity, but for control. It would be to give weight to a tribunal that has never, not even once, stood in defense of the oppressed when they rose against their oppressors. I will not lend my name, my voice, or my dignity to an institution that has time and again weaponized law against liberation. How dare they assume such authority over me, over the people of Burkina Faso, over the continent of Africa? What arrogance gives them this illusion of power that they can summon us like subjects and expect obedience? Who gave them that right? Who crowned them the arbiters of global justice? Certainly not us. Not our people. Not our ancestors who resisted chains, who bled for our soil, who looked colonizers in the eye and said, "No more." That authority they claim, it does not exist in our eyes. It is paper thin, propped up by centuries of theft, by centuries of blood, written into statutes and called international law. They write the rules, break them when it suits them, and enforce them when it benefits them. But to us, those rules are hollow, and their courts are merely instruments of the same imperial power they claim to have outgrown. The only authority that exists, the only one that holds any legitimacy in my eyes, is the authority that springs from the will of the people. The men and women who wake up before the sun to feed their children. The youth who dream of a different Africa, one that isn't looted, dictated to, or enslaved by foreign banks and corporations. The elders who kept hope alive when all seemed lost. They are my court. They are my jury. They are my truth. So when the ICJ says, "Appear before us," I say, no. I refuse, not out of fear, but out of principle. Because to appear would be to acknowledge their claim, and I do not. I reject it in totality. I will not stand before a court that never stood for us. I will not be lectured on law by those who have never obeyed it themselves when the cost was their profit. I will not be judged by a system that has no soul and no shame. Let them write their judgments in gold ink. Let them stamp it with all their seals and signatures. I will not bow. I do not recognize their ruling. I do not recognize their jurisdiction. My allegiance is not to The Hague. My allegiance is to the streets of Ouagadougou, to the red soil of our villages, to the dreams of a continent still breaking its chains. So take your summons, your threats, your headlines, and return them to sender, because I, Ibrahim Traore, president of a sovereign people, will not attend your courtroom. I will not validate your injustice with my silence or my submission. I refuse. They ask me why. Why do I refuse to appear? Let me tell you. Because every step of their process reeks of colonial arrogance. They dictate terms from their ivory towers while ignoring the sufferings forced upon our continent. They coveted our minerals, our land, our labor. And when I had the audacity to cancel those predatory contracts, the moment I chose the people over returns for foreign investors, they struck back with this theatrical, illegal fine. This fine is not about money. Let no one be fooled by the numbers they throw around in their cold, calculated statements. This is not about $800 million. This is not about economics. This is about control. This is about power. It is about punishing defiance. It is about making an example out of any African leader bold enough to stand up and say, "No more." It is about sending a chilling message to every corner of the continent. Obey or be crushed. Submit or suffer. Sign the contract or face the courtroom. Keep the minds open to foreign hands, or they will come for your name, your leadership, your legacy. They want to make it clear, you do not have the right to say no. You do not have the right to redirect the wealth of your own land. You do not have the right to serve your people first. They do not fear corruption. They fear integrity. They fear independence. They fear a leader who cannot be bought, and a people who are no longer blind to the theft that's been dressed up as investment for decades. They act as though the rivers of gold, the veins of ore, the diamonds and rare earth minerals in our land were somehow theirs by birthright. As if these riches formed in the heart of our soil, watered by our sweat and blood, belong to them, not to us. As if we are trespassers on our own inheritance. That is the depth of their delusion. That is the audacity of empire. And it goes even deeper, because it is not only about the minerals, the contracts, the profits. No, at its core, this is about the future of our children. They look at our next generation and see only laborers, not leaders. Resources to be extracted, not minds to be nurtured. They would rather our youth be chained to dependency, to desperation, to begging for aid that was stolen from us in the first place. They presume to decide what kind of schools we build, what kind of health systems we fund, what kind of food ends up on our tables. They have the arrogance to believe that they, not us, hold the keys to our future. And when I dared to take those keys back, when I said these mines will no longer serve foreign wealth but national need, they called it illegitimate. They called it a breach of law. They called it criminal. But I call it justice. I call it sovereignty. I call it leadership. So make no mistake, this fine, this absurd $800 million penalty is not about any contract, any clause, any missed payment. It is a threat. It is a line drawn in the sand. They are telling every African leader, you either remain a gatekeeper for our interests, or we will come for your reputation, your freedom, your nation's stability. But I do not fear their lines. I do not fear their courts, and I certainly do not fear their money, because while they count dollars, we are counting lives. While they safeguard profits, we are safeguarding our dignity. While they try to maintain control over contracts, we are reclaiming control over our destiny. Let them write their rulings. Let them announce their fines. Let them issue their international orders. It changes nothing, because this is not about money. This is about liberation, and I will not trade the soul of a nation for a seat at their table. I say to them, you miscalculate. You do not understand the spirit of our people, the fighting spirit of Africa. You think this monstrous $800 million, 0 cents fine will break me? It only steals my resolve. You think silencing me will silence our march toward freedom and self-determination? You are wrong. And to the handlers behind the ICJ, call them Western powers, call them the system, call them what you will. They tremble when their contracts are torn, their profits vanished. They dress up their greed in suits and post bailiffs in courtrooms, pretending to serve justice. But there is no justice here. There is only revenge. Now you ask, what about my presidency? Is it legitimate? Is it secure? You ask these questions not because you care about democracy, not because you are defenders of the will of the people, but because my leadership threatens your grip. You do not question my presidency out of principle. You question it out of fear. Fear that an African nation has dared to choose its own path. Fear that a leader has risen who does not ask for your permission to serve his people. Fear that the age of puppets is ending and the age of purpose has begun. Let me be absolutely clear. My presidency is not dependent on your courts or your declarations. It is not conferred by signatures in Geneva or approval from bureaucrats in Brussels. It is not contingent upon the judgment of foreign media or the blessing of think tanks who have never set foot in the realities we live. My presidency is rooted where it must be, in the hearts and hands of the people. It is rooted in the trust they placed in me, not because I spoke softly, but because I spoke honestly. Not because I promised compromise, but because I promised courage. I walk with them. I listen to them. I bleed with them. And I build with them. They are my legitimacy. Their hope is my mandate. Their struggle is my mission. You may brand me as a rogue. You may call me a strong man, a radical, or whatever label fits your narrative. You may find me. You may use your press to malign me. You may parade your so-called experts across your channels to dissect every decision I make. But here is a simple truth you cannot erase, cannot suppress. cannot sanction out of existence. The people know who stands with them. I stand with them, and that is enough. My purpose is not to please the West. My purpose is not to serve your interests. My purpose is not to bow when you raise your voice. I am here to build, to protect, to liberate. And I say to you, now in words not wrapped in diplomacy, not coded in polite submission, I will not bow to the West. I will not kneel before institutions that have kept us in economic chains for decades. I will not cower under your pressure, your threats, or your attempts to isolate me. You can freeze assets. You can blacklist names. You can summon your courts, but I will stand. They send fines. I send back promises to my people, promises that we will stand taller tomorrow than we did yesterday, promises that the land under our feet will feed our children before it enriches foreign companies, promises that the minerals in our soil will build hospitals, not just stock portfolios in distant capitals, promises that we will write our own story in our own voice, in our own language, on our own terms. They threaten us with isolation. I say let them. We have been alone before, and we did not vanish. We survived the Berlin Conference. We survived the plantations and the rifles and the debt traps dressed up as aid. We will survive this. And not just survive, we will rise. For what they do not understand is that I was not sent here to be liked. I was not sent here to maintain their comfort. I was not sent here to extend their control under a different name. I was sent here to serve a vision of a Burkina Faso that is proud, that is strong, that is sovereign, a vision of Africa standing not with its hand out, but with its fist raised in dignity. So, let them question my presidency. Let them question my legitimacy. Let them question everything. But I have no doubt in the legitimacy that flows from the people's will. I have no doubt in the strength found on the side of justice even when the world calls it rebellion. And I have no doubt that no matter how heavy their hand becomes, we will not surrender what is ours. They say, but you're defying global institutions. Yes, I am. I defy them when they become instruments of oppression. I defy them when they punish the act of reclaiming our resources. I defy them because our land is not theirs to sell. Our people are not theirs to pay off. I know their strategy. They craft contracts, secure extraction deals, force sweetheart terms, then complain when the people of Africa finally say, enough. Then they claim hypocrisy. They cry foul and hide behind courts that exist to protect their interests. And they fine me $800 million. But let them keep their fiction of authority. I'll keep working because symbolic victories do not interest me. I am interested in real transformation. I am interested in free schools powered by free land. I'm interested in clinics filled with medications, not empty promises. I'm interested in roads and infrastructure, in food on tables, jobs in hands, dignity in hearts. I tell you now, no fine, no threat, no judgment from a court without legitimacy. None of it will stop me. They want me cowed, silent, submissive. They will get no such thing. I will not break. I will not back down. If they want my presence before a judge, they can wait. I'll wait. But I can promise them this. Every day, they wait. My work continues. Extractive contracts remain canceled. Mines will not strip our land without benefit to our people.